Hello there and welcome into another edition of the JMac Podcast. Also another edition of POTUS Did What? Only in this case, we've got an addition to that. It's called Pelosi Did What? And today we're going to answer the question, who is the hypocrite in this scenario? Is it President Trump? Is it Nancy Pelosi? Is it both? Are they both right here? Are they both wrong? Let's dive into it and figure it out. But before we do that, please take a minute and like this video, share it, subscribe to our content, and let everybody know about the fearless honesty that we're bringing to you every single day. So here's the story. I'm sure you've seen it, screaming banner headlines everywhere that Nancy Pelosi had the nerve to go into a hair salon in San Francisco during the shutdown after she's been calling for masks to be worn everywhere. She unfortunately was not wearing a mask.
In security footage obtained by Fox News and time-stamped Monday, 3:08 p.m. Pacific time, an 80-year-old part-time Napa resident called Nancy Pelosi can be seen slinking through a San Francisco hair salon. She has wet hair. She is not wearing a mask. But she was indoors. She was almost alone because due to coronavirus regulations, salons in San Francisco are closed for indoor services. Nancy Pelosi went inside. She can do that because she is the Speaker of the House, third in line for the presidency. You cannot because you don't have as much power as Nancy Pelosi has. The owner of the salon, a woman called Erica Kios, was furious about this. She saw the unfairness of it. She told Fox News that Pelosi's trip was, quote, disturbing and a slap in the face to people who were not allowed to work because of Nancy Pelosi.
I love how he uses the term slinking. She was slinking through the salon, and of course, everyone in an outrage that she is not wearing a mask, including apparently the owner of the salon. Now, Nancy Pelosi has come out and said she was set up.
I take responsibility for trusting the word of a neighborhood salon that I've been to over the years many times, and that when they said, well, we're able to accommodate people one person at a time, and that we can set up that time, I trusted that. As it turns out, it was a setup. So I take responsibility for falling for a setup.
So she's saying, my bad, I fell for a setup, and I take full responsibility for it. Is that really taking full responsibility? I'm not sure. We'll talk about that coming up. But again, the name of this video and podcast is Who is the Hypocrite, Trump or Pelosi? Well, why does Trump come up in this scenario? Well, because he immediately took to the tweeter to talk about Nancy Pelosi. Here's two tweets that he sent out. Crazy Nancy Pelosi is being decimated for having a beauty parlor opened when all others are closed, and for not wearing a mask, despite constantly lecturing everyone else. We will almost certainly take back the house and send Nancy packing. That was the first tweet sent at 7:20 a.m. The next one came at 7:28 a.m. The beauty parlor owner must really dislike crazy Nancy Pelosi. Turning her in on tape is a really big deal. She probably treats him like she treats everyone else, and she strongly supported a Kennedy who just lost in, of all places, Massachusetts. So let's talk about President Trump's actions here, first of all. Is he a hypocrite here in this case for calling out Nancy Pelosi? Well, not really, but there is some irony here in that he is seen constantly not wearing a mask. He just got back from Kenosha where he did not wear a mask. He has allowed the guidelines to go out saying that masks are something that everybody should wear, but he doesn't wear one. Now, he says it's because he's been tested constantly, I guess. But, you know, Nancy Pelosi could come out and say, I've been tested, so I don't need to wear a mask. But she didn't do that. I just think it's incredible irony here that somebody on the right who has flaunted the mask policies is calling out somebody on the left who did not wear a mask. I think that is at least ironic, if not hypocritical. And it's a perfect example of the partisanship involved here. Now, Nancy Pelosi has called out the president for not wearing a mask. Interesting. The president now calling out Nancy Pelosi for not wearing a mask. This is partisanship. That's all this is. Both sides trying to prey on the other side to get political capital and gain. So part of this podcast is called Pelosi Did What? And let's answer the question whether or not she is being hypocritical here. I played for you that audio where she says she was set up. They told her that it was something that they could do legally under the city guidelines. She fell for it. My bad. So she wants everybody to just move on from this. But she hasn't just been critical of the president. Listen to her comments on NPR.
Joe Biden said today that if he were elected president, he would make wearing a face mask in public mandatory. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. In fact, the reason the CDC hasn't made it mandatory is because they don't want to embarrass the president or insult the president or whatever it is, offend the president. They said they recommend it, but they haven't required it. And we're like, why aren't you requiring it? The inference to be drawn from their response is that it's because of the president. And that, again, is another president saying this is a hoax, that it's magically going to disappear, and not wearing a mask himself is an example to the country. How cowardly is that? So I think, yes, I totally agree with Joe Biden. As long as we're faced with this crisis, the mask should be mandatory. It's not about protecting yourself. It's about protecting others.
She went so far as to say it was cowardly of him to not wear a mask. So does it hold water for her to say she was set up? No, it doesn't. Not at all. It's her responsibility to know what the state and city guidelines are. That's a citizen's responsibility. I guarantee you everybody in Salt Lake County knows that there's a mask requirement. And they follow it, or at least most of them, I think. I haven't been up to Salt Lake County for a while. Are you following it? I'll have to trust you. But this is something that she has said, and I believe that it's true, that this is something you wear to protect those around you because you care about those around you. So for her to simply say that she trusted this booth owner in this salon, to me, is a bit much. She knows what's going on here. And even if she believed it was okay, she has said that wearing a mask is something that you should do regardless. So in this case, I think she wins the hypocrisy award. Now, please take a minute and become a patron of this podcast. Take a minute and click on the link in the description and become a monthly donor. We have actually 30 now who have decided to make a $1 or $5 or $10 a month donation. And that's helping me cover the costs of this podcast. And hopefully it will allow me to continue to bring fearless honesty to you on a regular basis. So thank you so much to those patrons. You can also make a one-time donation. That will help out as well.